Joan, get me a Snapple.
This week on the Squatchers Lounge podcast, David and the Reverend Jeff discuss observed Bigfoot behavior. And how does that help Joe Squatcher? Because it does. But the question is, how do you separate the BS from the good stuff? And I'm sure old Reverend Jeff has a suggestion for you on that. And a bunch of news that David hasn't read yet. Again. So without further ado, I give to you the man who's guiding us through this nebulous topic, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Lord have mercy. It is episode 20 already, and indeed I am your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Yeah, it's going to be a doozy. We're talking about Bigfoot observed, Bigfoot behaviors, and what the hell they could mean to us. And with me, as always, is the Dr. David Badtorf, pseudo-scientist, best announcer man in the podcast history. How you doing, buddy?
Great. I'm wearing a hat so that people will take me more seriously as a researcher and explorer.
That's right. That's right.
Possibly.
The hat is everything.
There we go. Now we're good.
Now we got the Adam Davis going on there. Absolutely. Well, this is going to be a fun week for sure because we're talking about all kind of crazy stuff. Well, as we always, we're going to take this time to start out with the news.
And now for the Squatchers Lounge news, bringing you the most up-to-date topics from across the interwebs week after week after week. The Squatchers Lounge podcast. Let's get newsy.
Newsy, that's right. Well, one fisherman has got more than he bargained for while trout fishing literally catches a furry trout. Now, the legend is that there's trout in the river that actually have hair like rabbit, and every once in a while somebody will catch one. But in modern times, no one's actually been able to catch said urban legend and prove that it's real. Now, this particular picture that we have on the page here is actually a taxidermy trout inside of some rabbit hair. But literally, Game and Fish says that there is a condition of some kind of fungi that these poor fish will get and make them look hairy like that. Is that the explanation we're looking for, David?
That's kind of what this article is about. That has nothing to do with the photograph that is being shared with the article.
The fur-bearing trout.
The fur-bearing trout. And I do love that, and that when people are really reaching for stuff like this on like this, the Paranormics website, if you will, that, the myth of this is peculiar, but, this is a genuine condition, so it has nothing to do with the furry trout.
Right. Just because you read it on the internet doesn't make it true. And when somebody puts X at the end of their website, doesn't necessarily make them all sciencey either.
Yeah. Yes. This is definitely not a furry trout because it's cotton mold, as I read down here further. Yes. Yeah, and mm-hmm. But it's not your traditional furry trout like in this picture, which is a taxidermied fake.
Exactly. And moving on, good news, everybody. Who Forwarded blog has finally shut down. That's right. They've become the weak and weird. They're not going anywhere. Facebook's favorite couple, Greg and Dana Newkirk, have transformed it into the weak and weird, and they're going to be chasing down exactly that. I hear vampires in Kentucky, little ghostly things all over the place. I mean, these guys are going to pop in and out, and they are definitely on the right track. What do you think, Dave?
I love these guys. I follow their. They also write for Road Trippers and some other interesting things. But I do love the weirder aspects, and they do bring the weird into Road Trippers, which which articles they're writing, because it's always an insane.
Well, yeah, I mean,
something crazy.
They travel with their little mini museum of the macabre. Who doesn't want them to come and hang out at their conference?
That's happening.
I so want to. I can't wait to meet up with these guys. Go hang out and chase Bigfoot with them. They went with Dallas and Wayne on their initial episode. You can catch that on their website. And on the YouTube channel. It was hilariously funny. But we've also seen them in Bigfoot Hunter Still Searching with Timothy Holmes. Oh, wow. God, what a hoot that is. Search for it on YouTube to watch it. It's well worth the hour for sure. So check it out, theweekandweird.com, for all your crazy weird crap that you're going to be happy with. Moving right along. Okay. Well, Bigfoot truthers turn on their leaders. That's right. The Sasquatch Chronicles are back up in the news again. The dailybeast.com talks about the poor downfalls of Wes Germer and Woody Pratt, of the brothers that come from the Sasquatch Chronicles. Will Jeff join for a while? They had Shannon McGrow as a sidekick, and if things just kind of fell apart when their encounter just didn't add up, and people are still looking into it, and well, the details are now changing all around it. I don't know what to tell you, but can you believe people are still paying for a membership from these guys?
They're, for some people, it's the price of admission was enough just to get the stories, and they don't,
tell us it's entertainment. Give us a disclaimer. Don't call it truth and have people quoting it as gospel and then pull the rug out from underneath them at the end. That's the bullcrap part of this that I didn't like.
Yeah, because they really did. I mean, just by having the name Will Jevening on your show, it makes you look as though you're going to try to do some realistic and credible research, right?
Right. And because Will, God bless him, he tries to do credible research. Now, whether he's doing it or not, I don't know. I've never been out with the man. I don't know a lot of people that have. But my question comes down to Dogman. Really? Dogman all of a sudden is a type of Bigfoot? No, people. Dogman is not a type of Bigfoot. If there's a canid humanoid out there, it is not related in any shape, form, or fashion to the primate that we're out there looking for, lest we start looking for everything. Is it Snake Man? Is it Goat Man? Is it Worm Man? Is it Robin Man? I don't know, but I can tell you for a fact, everybody's asked me what my thoughts are on these 4 types of Bigfoot are, so we can't find the first damn one.
Yeah. Find me one. Yeah. And then we'll work on number 2, and then 3 and 4 are so far fetched, like they just should. Okay.
I mean, if you want to talk about 4 types of Bigfoot, being a Sasquatch of America, and a Yeren from China, and the Yeti of Nepal, and the Mopangwari of India, fine. That's great. There's 4 types of Bigfoot. But you want to talk about in North America, there's 4 types of Bigfoot, and one of them includes Dogman. Your credibility is shot. Please take it to the trash bin, take it out to the dumpster, and let the man take it away down to the landfill, because that's where it belongs.
Now, just let me get out ahead of this. Is that the whole problem with witness testimony and sighting experiences, and we'll get into that in the topic too. Is the problem is the people, their experience is how they perceived it, and if they perceived it as Dogman because Dogman was on their mind, that's going to be totally
believable. Understand that there are people out there claiming the episodes with Dogman, but is that the local legend? Is the Dogman the local legend in their area and not Bigfoot? I mean, people would be mistaken for anything, like you're saying. If you had Blobman on the brain, you're going to have a Blobman encounter out in the woods, or Sheep Squatch.
Well, my Bigfoot looked more like this. No, my Bigfoot looked more like that. No, it comes down to your perception of how you're describing this thing, right? It has that's all there is to it, is how do you describe your interaction with your witness? And that's why witness testimony is totally subjective. And if it's basically, it's either it's either hoaxical, or somebody picked up on something that was probably more hoaxical or a stretch, and is including that in their description.
Yeah, I'm not telling you to crucify Wes and Woody. Hey, if you like listening to them, that's freaking wonderful. Don't send me nasty messages. Don't post nasty messages on the group pages. I don't really care that you're angry with me for having my own opinion about things. You're not going to force your opinion on me. If that means you need to unfriend me, then so be it. You're going to stop listening to the show. I understand, but at least I'm giving you a truthful look at my experience from the outside world. They tried to rope me into this. They tried to get me on board with this. They tried to get me to back the Bob Garrett story. Wes himself contacted me trying to rope me into this. This was 100% legitimate stuff, Bigfoot stuff. That camp definitely had dead kids in it and thrown into the trees. And then all that crap comes tumbling down as well. That's why I'm angry with those people. It has nothing to do with what you people think, that I'm just trying to wreck Wes and Woody because I don't like competition. More shows mean more views for me, because it's more people that talk about us.
Well, not only that, but their shows are promoted on our shows, and our shows are promoted on their shows. Like if you go to if they're on YouTube, there's cross promotion, and that
Exactly.
so the more the merrier. As one by one these shows kind of go away, there's a we don't get more views because the shows go away. Let's just put it that way.
No, we just
More shows that go
faithful
away.
fans that have been there from the beginning. That's what we have.
Yeah, so the more shows that go away, the less suggestions we get. So
please start a new Bigfoot show. I'll help you.
Yeah,
let me know. I'll show you how we run our shows so that you can have a good quality show out there instead of looking like another chimp. Anyhow,
if people start putting stuff out there and people start asking us questions, and we'll address it on air like we always do, and we're not afraid of
I'm not hiding from nothing.
Yeah, our opinions are what this show is based upon, and yeah, we're wrong sometimes, and sometimes we're right.
That's right. I think we're right more than we're wrong, but that's just my opinion of it. Hey, chimps are better than humans at tactical games, man. I was reading through this. Now, the Kyoto University Primate Research Institute in Japan and at Caltech carried out a study measuring the ability of chimps to develop complex ideas. Now, I've actually seen this done, and it was kind of neat. There was an experiment where there was a researcher and a woman, and they were sitting on this bench, and the man took a peanut and drop the peanut into an empty bottle, Coke bottle. And he says, with the things that are around you, get the peanut out of the bottle without touching the bottle. And there was a straw there. There was another bottle of water there. She's sitting there and she's thinking about it. She tries to fiddle with the straw and, stick it to the peanut and get it out. She tries to suck the peanut out, causing suction through the straw. That didn't work. After like a minute and a half, she finally picks up the water bottle and goes, aha. And she fills the water, pours the water down into the other bottle with the peanut, and then the peanut floats to the top and she takes it out. So they give the same experiment to the chimp. And then 15 seconds later, he's eating the peanut. I mean, he literally took the straw, sucked the water out of the bottle, blew it into the Coke bottle, and up came the peanut, and he was done. So is it that our brains are too complex to get the idea of simple tactics like that? Or is it that the chimpanzees do that more often than we do?
They use different part. So our brain is really complex, and that does convolute a lot of our thought process. But they have to use that type of problem solving skills all day long, every day. How do I get the best fruit out on the far branches?
Because they're perplexed a lot.
Yeah.
We just cut down the tree and eat all the fruit.
So yeah, like that. We oversimplify because of our brain and our complex, convoluted way of making a chainsaw to get that tree down, right? Like they have to go through this process that is so, at its base, so simple but so often. Also because of their use of flash memory, if they watched anyone else do this, if they watched the person do this, they're immediately going to learn that and be able to perform it next in line. And that's the problem, and that's why they have to do these, not figurative but literally blind studies where the chimp cannot see the person do this, or they can't have been exposed to this to have an actual raw version of
right.
Okay. Yeah,
because it has to be a first time. It has to be the first time for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it's an unfair advantage for either. You can't let the chimp watch the human fail 10 times and then give it to the chimp, because he's already going to know not to try those first 9 things,
because of the way that their memory works and the way that their learning works, versus their actual thought process. But they do have complex problems, I forget what the actual word is at the moment, but your dog has basic reasoning skills, his favorite ball rolls under the couch, and they will go through the whole process of getting out the ball. I'll try it from this side, I'll try it from that side, I'll try, they'll try everything right, until eventually they fail and they come back to you, which that will become successful because then you'll get the ball for them, right? So they are successful because they've gone through everything themselves, and now they're going to enlist you to get the ball. That was a tactic as well.
That's one of the tests of intelligence of a dog. You take a dog bone or their favorite treat, you put it on the floor, you cover it with a clear glass so they can see it, and then you time how long it takes them to figure out to knock the glass over to get the treat. A monkey's going to pick the glass up and eat the treat right away because his intellect's a little bit deeper than what the canine is. But it's saying that it still doesn't answer the question as why it takes us longer to do the same simple tasks. I think that chimps are just smarter than we are.
I would like to see, in certain ways, for sure, but that part of their brain, like I said, that problem-solving, food gathering part of the brain is definitely going to be more active than ours. I mean, we go to the grocery store and we walk in there, and if we don't have a list, we're like, God, what do I want for dinner tonight? I don't even know. Chimpanzee sees a peanut and is like, I'm getting that freaking peanut right now.
That peanut's mine, bitches. All right, well, moving right along, man. I've been in this website more and more, livescience.com. This article hit my desk and I just couldn't get over it. The cranky parrots, weird island animals described in long lost report. There's a report from like the 1600s that's just kind of surfaced that talks about angry faced pigeons. What the wart faced pigeons? I'm sorry. Bad tempered parrots, wart faced pigeons, and several other now extinct but noteworthy indigenous animals. It was just like the weirdest thing to think. What would you, as a person, the very first time you ever saw like an emu or an ostrich, actually think about it?
It's a demon. The devil.
Jesus, God in heaven help me. Yeah, that thing would be like a monster in the woods, because they don't really live out on the plains. I mean, they do in the emus don't. I mean, the emus live in kind of a shrubbery type of area. So you're just walking along, pow, up pops this 7-foot bird that's just looming over top of you with these giant claws looking at you. Scary stuff, man.
Well,
sure.
And as we all know, the dodo looks like something out of prehistory. So this is a very special island, and why we're not trying to dig for a few more fossils. I know that especially bird fossils are really hard. They don't fossilize because they're so brittle, and
they're hollow, they brittle,ize, and they break apart,
porous and whatnot, and they're delicious.
They must be tasty too, because birds get eaten up a lot in the wild. You always see feathers everywhere, and the bones must digest pretty well, because probably for the same reasons. But yeah, who knows what's still lurking out there in some of these places. That's kind of the neat thought of it.
Bad tempered parrots, though. I mean,
dude, Seamus is a bad tempered parrot at times, brother. Trust me. If he wants a finger, he will take it.
I will have that.
Yes, that's mine. Thank you very much. Thanks for playing. Are you stupider than I am? Finally, the Sasquatch replica draws to an end, man. Ken Walker's Bigfoot replica, taxidermied type of replica, is finally done. And we've got some pictures of it. I'm going to share it with you here. Here from the Springfield News Leader, news-leader.com website, gives us the first kind of the glimpses of the Sasquatch that Ken's created. And I got to be honest with you, I'm a little weirded out by the face and the hands. Here, let me go ahead and close this out. Let's bring up some pictures of it, and we'll share those out that way, because they'll be a little bit easier to look at, and we'll be able to talk about it in a little bit more detail as soon as this slow computer. I so need it.
I mean, this is something that we were really, really excited to see, because Ken Walker is like,
we've been waiting on this and waiting on this. He's a world-renowned taxidermist, and the hair lay and everything is fantastic. But what a taxidermist does is takes a form of an animal and then lays the skin and the hair over top of it to give it a lifelike appearance. That's what a taxidermist does. And they work from available structures. If I'm going to do a cougar, I look in the catalog, I see what kind of shape I want, what pose I want the cougar in. So I order that form, it comes in, and then they take the tan skins and they make it work. And Ken is amazing, trust me, because most of these animals have a great big hole in them from being shot when they get brought in, that he has to magically make disappear seamlessly. So he's got stuff in the Smithsonian. He's a world championship taxidermist, but taking on something like a Sasquatch that doesn't have a form, you have to create all of this for yourself, makes things much more difficult.
And the most difficult thing is what kind of hair do you use? I mean,
he used the upland cattle hair. That's what that shagginess of the upper hair is along the back and the head. And I think it matches good for what I saw. As an analog for what I saw, this is the length of hair and the thickness of the hair of the animal that I saw in Pennsylvania when I was 16. Okay. The hands I can't really say because I didn't really get that great of a look at the hands. The feet I got a side view of, so I didn't get a great look at that. But I did get a good look at the side profile in the back and the ear. And a lot of this, and this taxidermy piece here rings true. But let me bring up the next picture. Now,
so like that kind of that small ear just sort of poking out, that rings true for you?
That rings true for me. It wasn't a great big old honking ear like a cartoon or anything. I mean, it was just a small kind of protrusion that kind of stuck out to the side over there, just where you'd expect it to be on an ape. Now, this is a back view of it. Now, this was during the coloring process of the hair, but this actually gives us a really good view of what the neck placement that we talk about all the time in the different apes is different from human. This is different than a chimpanzee. And I think his interpretation of this, he's got dead on for me as well, because that was kind of the hang that its head had as it walked down the trail. Now, when it initially came out of the woods, it was coming down an embankment. So it was kind of unbalanced and moving. But as it walked down the game trail away from me, this shoulder view I got a couple of times, and the way the head hangs on it it gives the head placement, the head hole, a different location than what humans have. Correct?
Yeah, the quote unquote technical term is head hole. But yeah, where your spine comes up and connects, and the spinal cord connects to the brainstem, is in different locations depending on how your body sits. Even something like, we say chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans have the orthograde body plan, which means upright body plan, is very much different in us in that centered, completely upright, what we do. It's almost like, yeah. If you put your hand towards the back of your neck, like on the outside of your neck, that is about where the brain stem would come out of, say, a chimpanzee, versus where ours is, obviously, in your spine within the inside of your neck. So you're talking like a couple inches of difference, and that makes a difference in how your head sits on top of your body and where gravity wants to put it comfortably. So those are really important things. Like if you're thinking about any sort of physical anthropology when you're talking about Sasquatch, and this also looks to be very similar to or modeled directly after like the Patterson-Gimlin film, because it's got a very similar.
That's exactly what he's what he's trying to recreate. Is Patty from the Patterson and Gimlin film is what his ideal ontaking was this here. Now, with you looking at this one where it's still wet, where he's doing the coloring on it, you can see how the hairline tuft would run right down the middle of the back, almost like a horse mane, only short. But you can see where it would have that line that runs from the top of the head almost right down the middle of the back. But what's disturbing to me, dadgummit, is this is very much like the profile of that stupid Hobie hoax picture from 3 years ago. That gray thing that was out there. It registers a lot to me the same way. I've got one more picture of it. Here it is. This is Patty in all of her glory. This is Ken's rendition of, oh crap, I got to get away from these crazy bastards on horses with guns. And I like it. I like the overall. I don't like the face, and I don't like the hands. And he actually scrapped the face and redid it once. But a lot of this is based on his personal experiences and sightings as well. And Ken's not one to talk about that stuff. Ken just goes and does the research to answer his own questions. And, he's doing his own thing up there. And he's in the Alberta area, that NORAG, what they call the Survivor Man crap. That's actually his research area. And overall, if I came walking on this thing in the woods, I would probably think it was real. That's pretty realistic. If you put that thing in the woods, not moving, just standing up with tree like it was tree peaking, and took a picture of it, I don't know, man. I think it might be able to be gotten away with.
Yeah, the one interesting thing that I find about the hands, you see the one that's upturned and holding the branch back just slightly, is how and this is kind of probably one of those, primate or primitive inferences. which I would actually argue with a little bit, and people will talk about this all the time, but how far back the thumb is placed on the hand and the palm, it seems like a very elongated palm. And people describe that, and he's obviously created that. However, that palm is an arboreal palm. That hand is an arboreal hand. It's for climbing.
Well, we talked about
trees.
that. Well, we talked about that, though, because when I watched the creature go back up the other embankment, he reached up into the wood line just like that with his hand, palm out, grabbed a hold of the trunk of a tree and pulled his left hand in, grabbed the trunk of a tree with his right hand and pulled his right hand forward and pulled himself up that embankment and went marching off. Mm-hmm. Is it supposedly the reason for the longer arms themselves is that they're using those to help propel themselves through the woods? Would that not still keep an arboreal thumb like that on that type of a hand?
Like we're talking about, there was not a lot of evidence of tool use and fine use of the fingers. So that it could be a vestigial trait that then you later use to your advantage with the walking up the embankments. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that it's interesting that we keep seeing this, but it is something that we see in the cousins, especially like the orangutans. But all of our like ape cousins.
And of the hand casts that we have, it does place the thumb in a weird place, because I've actually got one right back here. This is from the Bossberg. This is from the Bossberg tracks of a Cripplefoot. This is the hand cast from that same event. Now, if it's real, I don't know if it's real. I wasn't there to take it or not. You can see that the thumb is again in that lower jacked up kind of place.
Mm-hmm.
So saying that, that's the evidence that we have in the castings. For me, that's a big ass hand.
Yeah, well, and there's other examples. I'm forgetting the name of the other the famous one that's got the maybe is it a skookum hand or something like the big one with the super deep impressions that's amazing from Washington. Anyway, looking at that, I did notice like the proportions look as if they're very close to like human proportions. But if you think about the dynamic movement of the hand and it climbing up, you realize that the fingers probably started from a very much further forward and pulled back into that more human proportion. So interesting, but yeah. So you can check it out. Monster. Well, no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Monster X Radio. It's just this evening had Ken and the director of Big Fur, the documentary about that making of the Bigfoot replica, on tonight. So you can catch that out on Blog Talk Radio as well. I guess it's just about the time for the tip of the week. You think? Probably.
Hang on just one moment, people. And now it's time for Rules to Squatch By with your old pal Wes.
Number 40, food sources. Since tonight's show is about Bigfoot's behavior, I saw it fitting to share this known behavior brought to us by those wacky guys and girls at the Erickson Project. Apparently, Biggie loves pancakes. So just be sure to hit that breakfast menu before every expedition. Come check out my recent work and my art for sale at weslosner.com. Stay squatchy, my friends.
That's right. And let's see. I got
another promo. Who doesn't love pancakes?
Dude, got to have some pancakes. I got another promo from Chris. Let's see if he actually pushes Steve over the edge quite this week.
This is what you've missed this week on the 40 and Slip.
Yeah, because we all know that if there's one thing that, is great for radio, it's dead fucking air.
When I went to broadcasting classes in college, that
failed horribly.
No, actually, I got an A in that class. No.
Did you finish college?
No.
Survey says.
Ding, ding, ding. No.
Check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/the 40 and Slip and at the 40 and Slip.blogspot.com.
I swear, I listen to the show more and more every week because I want to just see that episode when Steve just pops and like just loses it right there on the air. It's gonna happen. Hey, by the way, I got a copy of Jim Sherman's book over here. Finding the Big Hairy Monkey Thing. You can find that on Facebook at Facing the Big Hairy Monkey Thing at facebook.com and get yourself a copy of it for $13 delivered to the house. I enjoyed it, Jim. I got to tell you, a lot of what you have, your experiences and those things in this book of your childhood rings so true with mine. They parallel each other so much that I swear we're two brothers from another mother. So if you want to know some of my childhood outings and things that happened to me, pick up a copy of Facing the Big Hairy Monkey Thing. And a lot of Jim's encounters are the same things that happened to me when I was a kid. And I loved every minute of it. Thanks for the autograph, Jim. I appreciate it. Now, I'll have that up at camp this when we go up there in June. David, you'll get a chance to go thumbing through it as well.
Nice. Yeah. I'll be looking forward to that. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm just looking forward to camping in general.
Dude, I am so angry. We were supposed to go up on the mountain to go do the scouting trip tomorrow, but unfortunately, 28 degrees, rain, hail, sleet, snow, possibility of 2 feet falling on where we were planning on camping. No, this cat's not gonna do it. However, next weekend is the holiday, and Smiha and I decided we're smarter than that. So we're going to go up next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll get the scouting done then. And an extra week won't hurt. Plus, the snow will all be gone, and everything should be green. So we'll have a real good idea where the rodent level is going to be come June, and we'll find us a real good place to come camping. Now, what we're going to do, I got news for you, the guys that are coming camping. Your phone's not going to work where you're going, okay? So we're going to get GPS markers together. If you've got a handheld GPS, you're going to want to bring it. I'm actually going to make some maps that will get you directly there. You'll be able to see satellite pictures of the roads. It'll put you directly in there. You can take a car, but you're going to go slow. It's just that simple. We've seen people with little tiny cars drive. Hell, you took your Subaru up there 2 years ago. So we know the little cars will get up there too. You don't have to have a 4x4. So we'll think of something smart, but we're not going to put it off. We're definitely going up next weekend, and we're going to find us an epic place to go camping.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Oh. And now for the Squatchers Lounge news. And now for tonight's topic.
Yeah, we already did the news, so we might as well go ahead and talk about tonight's topic.
Can we do it again?
You know, the news? Well, sure. Let's go right back to the top. No, actually, yeah. I got to tell you, the Bigfoot observations, the behaviors have been reported since the days of John Green, when people would send to him, their sighting reports, and he would definitely take down, things that the witnesses observed. And that's one of the things that the BFRO reports actually observed behaviors. Why do we want to know about observed behaviors? Because they tell you a lot about the animal. We did the epic Bigfoot encounter of, the Bowman, where he saw the Sasquatch come across the field and get into a bush and just grab the bush and pull the leaves through it with his teeth and start eating it. And he could see that they were flat teeth in the way they were crunching. That is a very, very important observation, don't you think, David?
Oh, absolutely. And those sort of observations make sense. Yeah. What I always do, like I pass, there's like 3 or 4 filters that I take these observations through. One is like they're just believability. Like, did Bigfoot step out of a portal? Well, okay, so you failed filter 1. Filter 2, does it make sense with primate morphology? Then okay, for that exact thing, yes. Number 2, that does. Number 3, does it exactly mimic other primate behavior? That one does. That's something, it could be kind of universal, like a lot of primates rip that through there. Okay, so that's not like something specific, like, okay, orangutans do this and gorillas and chimpanzees do not, kind of a thing. So pass it through that filter. Is it specific behavior that could be somebody's inferring because they know a little bit about orangutans, right? And then number 4, okay, man, now it's 4 filters. Is is that something that's going to be utilized by that creature in real life?
Right. Like one of the
flat teeth and ripping foliage through is going to be utilized by that creature in real life. Now, is it important for like like empathy and a lot of other things? Well, they're probably capable of that, but like we were talking about with chimpanzees, there's application of the tactical problem solving versus our non-application of the tactical problem solving. That's more so important for chimpanzees. They're going to be better at it because they have to practice it more often than we do, versus the fact that a chimpanzee can't explain to you the abstract concept of these 4 steps of filtering these sort of things that I would just explain to you. A chimpanzee cannot do that because that's what we're good at, right?
Right.
So that's where I'm going with that.
Right. Well, another one of the Bigfoot observations that we have is they like to peer in at humans in camp. That's another Bigfoot behavior. What does that tell us about the type of creature that we're dealing with? Well, it tells us that the creature's curious as to invaders into its surrounding. Curiosity is definitely a primate type of observation, is it not?
It is. Also skittishness, too. So watching at distance makes sense. And so, yeah, it's one of those things. A Bigfoot walking directly into camp and just looking at you so you can see it in the firelight, maybe not, but hiding behind something, and I'm not saying that every sound is a creeping Sasquatch in the woods. I'm just saying that if a Sasquatch didn't want to be found, it's probably gonna approach you in some way that you're not going to see it outright.
Exactly. Now the chat's actually working tonight, so I got a question from the chat room there, or from the comment section. Ghost Mooner wants to know: has a Bigfoot ever been seen climbing trees? Actually, yes. There's quite a few reports that say that they've seen Bigfoot in trees. There's a couple of famous videos out there that claim Bigfoot are tiptoeing and trapezing through the trees. None of those have actually been proven to be true, but I could see where, sure, I could see the smaller ones especially. The reason big bears don't climb the trees in North America is because most of the trees in North America can't handle the weight of a big bear. That's why you'll see little cubs go up the tree to get out of danger, and mama sit at the bottom of them for 2 hours while they figure out how the hell to get down. So, yeah, sure, they're going to have probably little ones play around in the trees a lot, but I can't imagine a 350 or a 400 pound, 5 foot, 6 foot Sasquatch trying to climb a tree and bang around and not fall out and hurt itself.
Something of that size and that nature. You think about gorillas. They're not going to be swinging from the branches as some of these videos depict and doing these acrobatic things at the end of the branches. Like bears or other heavy mammals like humans, we're pretty heavy. We're megafauna. So if you get up into these branches and you start to move out, the branch breaks. If you stay close to the tree, close to the trunk, you're probably going to have enough support to get you up into that tree, right? I was recently trimming a tree that's growing into one of my into my deck above my yard out here, and so I had to stay as close to that tree as humanly possible, or else I was going to break the branches and fall down to trim the tree.
Now, I was going to bring up Bart's observations in his thermal footage that we don't have any video of, but it's from his observations. He's, the commando crawl. We've heard the commando crawl from quite a few people who have observed them through thermal. And it's, only in the last few years that we've heard these things because the thermals have only gotten affordable, or we've been gifted, by some of our Bigfoot gods, the equipment ourselves, the expensive equipment to be able to see some of this stuff. But, I could understand the commando crawl being confused for maybe quadrupedal movement in the woods, possibly that the legs are just in a weird position, because normally an animal either is bipedal or is quadrupedal because of the inflection of its hips. One way is more comfortable than the other. If we see most of our reports of Bigfoot walking on 2 legs, walking through the woods, I would think that quadrupedal movement would be the uncomfortable one.
With the proportions of Sasquatch, as are reported in general, even with the longer arms, those stupidly long legs like we have for an orthograde ape, if you will, are terrible for quadrupedal locomotion. So this whole army crawl thing makes total sense. We do it in the armed forces to alleviate our profile of walking upright, right? So we're hiding. We're minimizing the amount of height and the amount of visibility that you have onto yourself. Makes total sense. If I was trying to hide from somebody, even if, you know, for jokes to pop out and scare them or whatever, just I'm playing with my son and I just naturally get down onto my knees into a hiding position to jump out around the corner and go boo, and then he laughs and it's amazing. So like it's so simple. Like I was a kid and we used to do you know, like tactical things in the woods all the time. You know, we had our camo, we had our ghillie suits, and we did all sorts of stuff. And the best fun that we had was to get as close to the trail as you could, where people were coming by, mountain bikers, you know, walkers, and other things, and hide in, like, basically in plain sight, whether it was hugging a tree upright or laying down like under a log, but you're like right there. People could almost step on you. I had the most success as a kid doing that, laying down on the ground. Just go face down, boom, you're gone. You disappeared.
Yep.
And so those are really important things, and that's why I love the behavior in this. So if people think about Sasquatch as this big hulking beast, you know, walking across the sandbar slowly, no, this is probably a really agile big hulking beast that knows enough tactically that it has to minimize its big hulking profile and do things like this when it's being seen. The thing that I love is this bottom cell is where that hand is up. You know, people are like, is it waving? Like as Jeff, I think, has said on the podcast before, that's it's a perfectly like blocking the firelight.
That's exactly what it was doing. Yes, blocking the firelight,
so that it could see the people that were looking at it better.
Where Bart was actually looking at it through the thermal was not directly in line with the campfire. He was actually away from camp when he caught this creature looking at the camp on the thermal. So the Bigfoot putting its hand up there is actually blocking the firelight from camp, trying to figure out whether Bart could see him or not. And then in a flash, after that cell, it was gone. So it was upright, then it was commando crawling, then it was laying flat, blocking the light from his eyes, trying to figure out if it's still being watched. And then he said within a couple of blinks of an eye, it was just gone. He said it crashed down through the woods and he never saw it again. And at that time, we don't go crashing on into the woods. You just don't do that. You don't go crashing into the woods after these things at night. Those types of things hurt and kill people. You worry about collecting the secondary evidence the next day. Unfortunately, these were days when we, weren't so great with the DNA collection and that kind of stuff. Because an event like this should have left a ton of hair behind.
There should have been something. I mean, you can see the scrub on those pine trees. There's probably, a collected litter of like the wood chip litter down below. There's something that's going to catch a hair. You knew exactly where it was. This is the type of thing, hindsight being 2020, and why everybody preaches this sort of thing now. It's like everybody has that experience where they just enjoy it, watch it crash into the wood line, mark it, and go back and scour that area. Don't go chasing into the, like, you're more likely to hurt yourself, break your leg stepping into a hole than this thing that's running away from you. Obviously is very concerned about you seeing it, moving away from you. Like, that's not really
just watching. It's a 600-foot drop straight off of cliffs.
Yeah. So you just don't go running off into the night, because you're more likely to hurt yourself than to be hurt by something, and then you'll be scavenged by the coyotes versus ravished by Bigfoot.
Then we've got the next type of thing that isn't exactly a Bigfoot observation, or the things that are attributed to it. Wood knocking, to my knowledge, and this was a topic that was brought up on the coalition page just today. Wood knocking, to my knowledge, has never had a witness to it. No one has actually ever seen Bigfoot grab a piece of wood, square off against a tree, and hit a home run. Nor do I know of have we ever found the scarring or footprints basing on the fact that a Sasquatch planted his feet and square it off against a tree to smack it. All we have are howls in the night and wood sounds in those same woods. But to my knowledge, no one's ever actually put those two things together. Am I wrong?
You are not incorrect in that statement.
So.
Nobody has seen a Sasquatch wood knock. Nobody has seen them rock clack. Nobody has seen all of the other things. Rock clacking is a little bit harder to pass off as just, sounds in the night.
Right.
But we also do have like the beak clacking of the large owls and things like that. So you have to know the difference between that and a rock hitting a rock.
Right, because I got news for you. My parrot with his beak, he makes some noises that you would think he is grinding pebbles in his mouth, but it's just his beak grinding inside of his mouth.
So good to know the sounds around you, and good to know what can make those sounds. And the more you can learn about that, I mean, I won't say I'm an expert on animal sounds, but I do like to look them up afterwards. And when I don't know, I'll pose a question, and somebody will come back to you. It's like we were talking about the audio that was captured in Washington recently, and we put the question out there, and somebody got back to Jeff, or it was through the comment section, and talked about a type of owl that I was unaware of, because
gray owl.
The great gray owl. It's not something that I deal with in my area, and I'm a hyper local kind of study guy, because you can get way outside of the scope of what your brain can actually handle. And it's something that can be in this other area, but isn't usually. But then you basically, it was an exact match, and you got to rule that out, and that's it's problematic for a lot of that southern Washington and Oregon areas for that particular sound that we kind of like so much.
Yeah, now you can't listen for a woo, you have to listen for a whoop. There has to be a P on the end of it, a hard P at the end of it. If you just get the whoop, you're probably getting a great gray owl up there, and that's okay. It's okay to make those mistakes. But what gave that one away for me was the fact, when we were talking about it, was there was audio of it doing it every so often in random times across a 20-minute period, and that's just something that's not observed through Sasquatch behavior. If they give off a whoop, it's one or two, and then it's gone, and then it's silent. You don't hear anything else. And that's because, personally, like we say, what do these things mean to us? I believe that the whoops are an alert call. I think that just like the chimpanzee troops, there's somebody checking the territory, and when they find something in the territory that they want to draw attention to, they give off one of those whoops, and it comes back. Now, why do I say that? Well, because we had a whoop 30 yards outside of camp when something discovered that we were there.
Yeah. I mean, shut the fuck up.
That, or
yeah,
whatever the case may be. In chimpanzees, it actually calls the troop over, and they want to go to war with whatever the heck it was in their area. I think the Sasquatch, like you say, probably just take a different route, adjust their route a little bit. And we were in this place during the time that the Sasquatch migrate up the hill. When I first started researching with these guys, I did it, through satellite feeds and over the internet, and what they were giving the information to me, until I moved out here and actually got my feet on the ground with these guys quite a bit. And what I've come to understand is we're not dealing with just one or two Sasquatch on this mountain. We're probably dealing with 4 or 5 different little groups that migrate at different times along this corridor up the mountain. And that's actually what we're going up there to look for in June, to see if we can find them in the valley before they migrate up. And we're actually staying very in alignment wise, many, many miles from the kill site, but alignment wise, where the animal should be that time of the year, because that's where the food sources and the rodents should be. So we're going to try and observe them in an area during a food crunch. Right now it's snowing and it's raining up there, which means the berries will actually come and be ripe this year, and there will be lots of them in this valley where we're going to, where it hasn't been for a couple of years. And I think that's going to be the better bet to actually get some observation done. At least I'm hoping.
That is the hope. So there's some other things. We're talking about whoops, and we're talking about like more of this gorilla, chimpanzee, orangutan behavior type of things. There's some of these other observed behaviors that seem to be a little bit more anthropomorphic, like where one of my favorite reports from up here in my area where I look is a guy who an avid hunter. He is just enjoying the rush of being out in the woods, and he's kind of getting ahead of his friends, and he sees like a Sasquatch up on a ridge step out from a tree, just step out like in the middle of nowhere. hunches down and pulls a juvenile out in front of it and motions towards him like, look there, like he would do with, he said he would do with his son. Like if he's like, hey, look, there's an eagle. Hey, look, there's a whale. Like, hey, look,
it's a human.
That's a human. And then they all sort of paused for a moment. And then the juvenile went back behind a tree. And then the adult went back behind a tree. That's pretty anthropomorphic behavior. Now, was that exactly what was happening? Well, it sounds a lot like it. Or was that how he described it?
Or was he using him for a human? Was he using him for a Bigfoot meat shield? Don't shoot here.
Look, it's a kid. Yeah. We know that doesn't work in all scenarios.
No, especially if Smee has around. Speaking of that, one of the things that Justin talks about in their encounter, and I say their encounter because there is a second witness to this, people. You people that say that there's no second to correspond to this, there is. The guy just doesn't want to be bothered with all you wacko Bigfooters, and that's just the simple fact of it. But when they came up on this thing, they say it threw his hands up in the air like this and kind of like moved around a little bit. Chimps will do that when they're startled. They'll kind of stick their hands up in the air like that as well. There are several big FRO reports of Bigfoot that report people coming up on them with their hands in the air. I heard one of the Sasquatch Chronicles stories, but I don't know how many of those are true anymore. Of one of them putting their hands up in the air as well. So that may be a behavioral type of thing, but what the heck could that mean? That's kind of, is it just a startling type of thing? Who knows?
So if you run across, I do a lot of hiking. You think about best practices. If you run across a black bear or you run across a goat, what do? You appear big. If there's two of you, you get together and you appear as big as possible. Maybe that's just more like rather than us thinking about, well, okay, crap, there's a big mountain goat. What do I do? Maybe it's just a reflex.
Be like the little kid in The Gods Must Be Crazy and put the board on the top of his head and run around.
Yeah.
When the hyenas were chasing him.
There's a lot of plausible explanations from that, but what I like to look at are those things that do like the hands up that come up time and time again, over and over again. Why pass them through those filters? Is it too crazy? Like, is it too anthropomorphic? No. Okay, chimpanzees do it fine. Is it basic primate behavior? Yeah. Is it like what would serve them in the environment? Okay, well, we do that when we run across something that's scary to us.
Yeah, that is very true as well.
You throw your arms up and you run. Like if you've seen somebody who's afraid of a spider, like the first thing you do is like, ah, like it's a reflex, and so that those sort of things make complete sense as a behavioral thing. The things that are more problematic are these for us. Somebody trying to find something are these kind of sneaky tactics, and this like the tree peeking and the this like commando crawling and all of these other things. Rock throwing is another one, like this behavioral thing, like who's seen a Sasquatch throw
not necessarily
a rock
rock throwing, but object throwing for sure. I've never experienced the rock. I've experienced a pine cone, and it was either somebody messing with me who was about to get shot several times, or it was it was a Bigfoot not knowing what the gun was. I don't know which, but I had a pine cone come into camp, arching into camp, didn't fall out of the tree. It came arching into camp just about dusk, and I knocked the fins off of one side of it, and I threw it back in the direction that it came from, and I heard a oh. Well, about 20 minutes later, from the other side of camp, a pine cone landed right back into camp again. So I picked it up. Sure enough, it was the same pine cone that I had thrown out the other side of camp. The something went oh when I threw it back at it. So what is the object throwing? Is it an anger display? Is it it's definitely an aggressive display. I would say anytime anything throws something at you, it's an aggressive display, like the gorilla at the zoo throwing clumps of grass at the people walking by.
Absolutely. And again, it fits basic ape behavior. It fits a lot of the things. If you're trying to put yourself right in the middle of the most utilized areas that something wants to use and it doesn't want you to be there, is it checking for agitation? I mean, it seems like if they really want it, like if they really wanted you out of there, they could just rip your arms off, shove them up your ass, and watch you bleed to death. I mean,
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I watched one totally wreck a 5-foot palm frond, and anybody who's lived in Florida or vacationed in Florida realizes that a 5-foot palm frond probably weighs 400 pounds, and it really just trashed the daggone thing. And this was the same one that threw the pine cone back in a couple of times because I kept agitating it until it finally grabbed its hands on top of 2 5-foot palm fronds and just shit out of them, screamed bloody terror at me till I cowered back by the fire for the rest of the night and prayed for the sun to come up. And that's the truth of it. I mean, I'm not a cowardly man. I'm just telling you, I prayed the rest of the night that it didn't come into the camp and I didn't have to kill it.
Because at that point, you see the power, you see the strength, and you're not sure if you can kill it. That's the
the 300 Winchester mag rifle in my lap definitely didn't have a problem killing whatever came through there.
Yeah.
I honestly would have put it down. I didn't have a doubt about that, but yeah, I didn't want to have to kill it, and I had agitated it, and it wanted me to go. But where I was camping was in the middle of where people don't go, on top of a spring. I mean, I was in the worst place in the world for an encounter like this because I definitely was in its territory. I mean, I drove my truck in as far as I could, and then I packed the rest of the stuff in about 1.5 miles. That's definitely, in Florida, that's pretty deep, on the edge of a lake that nobody could get to anymore. And that thing was not happy. However, the next morning, I found nothing but, torn up sand around it. I mean, that's the bad thing in Florida is it's not conducive to leaving tracks whatsoever. There's impressions everywhere. I mean, there are round impressions everywhere, but you can't get nothing out of it. It's sugar sand.
Yeah, no detail. Yeah, document where they go, which way you can't even tell which way they're pointing half the time, and that sort of substrate. So what are you going to do?
Absolutely. But, tree shaking, that's another observation that I've actually witnessed. I know that actually happens, but I've heard it in other encounters as well where, you come up on one that you can't quite see. It's behind a big old scrub pine or something, or it's behind a big old fir, and it just grabs a hold of the tree and shakes the crap out of it in an anger display. I've seen primates do the same types of things, especially when the gorillas are upset. They'll grab a hold of a big old bush and they'll just rip it out of the ground and pound you with it if they want to.
Yeah, but a lot of those, like after the warning ends in you make the promise, then you got to follow through, and maybe like that's the weird thing about the Sasquatch thing, and why not? Well, where is the follow through on that? You make the promise, I'm the big scary thing, and maybe they just know enough about the primate behavior to know that when you're frightened, and that's good enough.
Yeah, that may be very well it. Dude, I got news for you, man. The hour is just like, boom, gone already. Whoa. Yeah, man. Flies like it does every single week. Hey, guys, come out and find us at facebook.com/groups/SLounge. That's the Squatchers Lounge, the group itself. Facebook.com/SLounge podcast will actually put you into the fan page. I still don't know why we don't have 1,000 likes there. I'm kind of a little upset. YouTube.com/SLounge podcast will put you to the YouTube channel as usual. But if you're watching the show, I think you've actually already found us. David, dude, a few more weeks, brother, you're going to be landed on an airplane.
We're going to be in California doing the real deal. It's going to be fun.
Real deal with real people. Exactly. Well, I was going to wrap it up for us this week, guys. For your host, and that's me, the Reverend Jeff Kelly. I want to thank you very much for joining us for the Squatchers Lounge podcast. And for David Batorp, we want to say, hey, thanks for watching, and may the Squatch be with you.
Boom, boom.
Boom, boom. David's been working on a new theme forever, but we're still wondering when it's going to get around. This week's show brought to you by weslosner.com, WESLOSNER.com. Go out and get you some Sasquatch art today. You won't be saddened at all. Sasquatch Coffee, squatchcoffee.com. God, I love the Bigfoot coffee. Every morning, dude, I got to have my Sasquatch coffee.
Shit, I can't swim. I know I can't. So you know what I do? I stay my black ass out the pool.